Yeah, I think I recorded like one of those days you were gone.
I got the notes from Emma, so I've been copying.
All right, good. All right, so I'm gonna leave that there because if I forget again, something. I mean, maybe I have a lot of work here or something.
See, just turn it off.
You forget things a lot recently. All right, so problem with this is it doesn't have anywhere near. Okay, copy all that down.
Oh my god, can I have a pen this real quick?
Copy all that down.
Wait, you want us to recopy sustainable?
No, you already have a definition for that.
Okay.
All right, so sustainable agriculture. Yeah, Kayla, want to hit the two middle ones down, please?
Two outside ones?
Yeah, or two outside, but two middle ones make sense.
Yeah, maybe you have had too much tuna recently.
Well, tuna once a week, so I should be okay. I have tuna once a week, salmon once a week, so my mercury level is elevated, but over time it should dissipate, and then you're okay to go again next week. That's kinda how it
Resets
works.
every week, right? You just how it works.
Well, it does. Your body processes it. It doesn't build up as fast. You can look that stuff up. All right. So what I wrote here for sustainable agriculture is exactly the same thing as this. Agriculture that fulfills the need for food and fiber while enhancing the quality of soil, minimizing use of non-renewable resources, and allowing economic viability for the farmer. So we focus pretty much all on the environmental aspect. That's why it was awesome with Ms. Carey yesterday talking about that three-pronged approach with the social and the economic, because we could go on, and most topics in here we could spend way longer than we do. This is one of them, but we need to move on because it's actually just a small part of this unit, let alone the class. So anyways, it was great that she brought that up. So we're going to focus on basically just the environmental and what can be done to agriculture and farming that's going to make it better on the environment and the planet, right? So not totally disregarding the economic and social aspect, we're just not really worrying about that. We're just saying, okay, X, Y, and Z can be done differently to help the soil, help the environment, the ecosystem, diversity. So that's the angle of this class, and the science behind it. You know, there are facts about what's better for the environment and what's not, but that's not always better for the farmer's wallet, let's say, right? So I understand that, but we just don't have time, and that's not really what this class is about, to talk about all the different aspects of farming. It's just the environmental part. So I'm giving you that disclaimer just because understand the perspective in the curriculum, it's all about the environment. However, there are other things affected, obviously, or at play. Intercropping, crop rotation, agroforestry, and contour plowing are all big ones. Let's see. We've already talked about intercropping, so I'll just briefly go through that again quickly. No-till agriculture, cover crops, green manure or more, strip cropping, terrace cultivation. These are all things that we're going to define, talk about, have images, examples, and then that'll be it. So as long as we are familiar with the terms, have a pretty good understanding of what they mean, and I think just from the term itself, I think helps you understand like crop rotation, rotating the crops instead of from season to season instead of the same one over and over. I think a lot of you probably already understand that or know that. I hope. So anyways, I don't know what the next slide has, but if they don't have the other terms, I'll put them up there. I'll just give you notes on that. So intercropping was part of what system?
Sustainable agriculture.
Yeah, but we already learned something we learned before that we started talking about when we did forestry. IPM.
Soil
Integrated pest management.
Right, that's where the trap crops and the repelling crops came from. So intercropping is a form of agriculture, but also a form of pest management. It can be. So it promotes synergistic interaction. Basically, it's like the corn and the pea plant work together. Pea plant fixes nitrogen, corn needs the nitrogen. As an example, and these two, intercropping and crop rotation, you can use the same crops for both of those. So they're very similar to each other, related, I should say. Yeah, in fact, in my notes, I just wrote intercropping previous notes. I'm not giving you notes on that. Again, we already talked about that, so hopefully that rings a bell. Crop rotation, I use the exact same example I just said here. Peas, 1 year, they fix the nitrogen. Next year, plant corn in the same field. It's going to use that nitrogen to grow. That's better for the soil, better for the plants and the crops, so you get better yield. So crop rotation. Essentially, if you keep planting the same thing over and over and over, it's just sucking all the same nutrients out year to year to year. You will deplete the soil much faster. Yeah.
The video we watched from Miss Care, you know how they had one plant on the ground and then they put another plant on top of it to fill in the space? Do you have to rotate your crops then? Because you're already putting two different crops in one place?
So so they had soybeans, and that's when they were spraying the rye on top of it. So you're asking, do you have to rotate the soybeans? Right. So and take the soybeans 1 year, plant a different one the next year.
Yeah, like do you have to?
Even though you're using the cover crop.
Even though you're using two different ones already.
So the cover crop is to protect the soil, keep it together, limits erosion and runoff, keeps the nutrients in it. I would say rotating crops would still be a good idea because I can ask her. I don't know.
Why
Liz,
not
do you
do
know?
this every year?
What's that?
Probably wait like 3 years and do it.
But yeah, okay, so maybe they wouldn't have to do it every other year, like they're saying here. But just my intuition is soybeans are still going to be taking the same nutrients out every year, even though you have the rye there as a cover crop. If you switch it up, different nutrients will be fixed or used in a different crop. So I still think it's probably a good idea. I can ask her. That's a good question. I mean, that sounds about right. They wouldn't have to do it as often. Good question.
Good job,
So, agroforestry. My coffee. I think I talked about this in here.
I don't think so.
Shade grown. I try and buy shade grown coffee.
Oh yeah, you have.
So that means this. So you're growing coffee, for example, which you know what? I never thought of this. It's considered a non-nutritive crop, which made me feel really bad.
What does that mean?
No nutrients.
You're not getting much out of it, so it's like wasting farmland on it. I mean, you're getting caffeine. There's antioxidants in coffee. Caffeine has a role, but it isn't like nutrients like like a green bean.
There's no
gives
vitamin
you.
C.
Right. So it made me feel bad because a lot of people drink. I drink coffee. I like coffee.
Let's just
But if
genetically
you're
modify
growing it like
coffee.
in the shade where other plants aren't going to grow anyway.
Right. So that's the thing. If you're not wiping out a forest and then planting your coffee, but you're doing it within and among trees. I have a picture of it. Then you're right. Other crops maybe wouldn't be able to grow because they're not shade tolerant. So
Have a field in the shade.
I'm gonna show you the picture. It's not a field. So it's a forest essentially, but the pictures I have and the places coffee's grown, it's not like out here where it's dense, deciduous forest. There's more space. The trees are it's different. It's usually the leaves are higher up, higher canopy, so there's less residue on the floor, on the ground. So I'll show you. Yeah.
So many people drink coffee. Why can't we just make a nutritional coffee bean? Like,
So it's genetically change it. Throw in
just
some
chalk.
vitamin A and C.
like, why not? Right?
Well, why not
I know
just
the
make
health
a couple pills that have all you need, and then you don't have to eat, and then just.
Because then you gotta buy pills. Yeah, but then you have to buy.
I'm taking that. I'm being kind of a jerk, taking it to a extreme. You're right. You could genetically modify the coffee
Like,
bean.
I feel like all
put
the
something
things
in
we
it.
could
Because then you would
genetically
have to eat
modify.
less because you could just have that for breakfast. You wouldn't have to eat it.
Anyways, I mean that's a good question. A good point. Yeah, you know what? Go ahead, get these. You might as well get these down.
I would
Actually, you
not
know
give
what?
up eating
Never
fruit.
mind. I changed my mind. Here,
Picture time.
Picture time.
I'd rather die. I'd rather die.
Then what?
Than eat a pill over
Instead of like.
Well, unless you had some.
something in the morning.
What do you mean?
What if the society
I'd
2,000 years from
rather
now
die.
there's no more food? It's all
I want a
pills.
hamburger instead of a.
You have a pill. You put it in. It tastes like you're eating hamburger.
No,
No,
see, but it's not a hamburger.
Would not be the same.
Isn't that
You
like
did
that
not
really
choke
long,
out
like,
of
dog
house.
that's, like,
Yeah,
supposed
really
to
long.
be-
Yeah. All right, here we go. Agroforestry. Here's a good picture right here. So Zeke, that looks vastly different than our forests, right? So they didn't chop down these trees, but they're growing other crops among the trees.
Hey, they did
So-
like that in Hawaii.
Yeah, it was kind of like that when we went to Costa Rica.
Yeah, pineapples in Hawaii? Yeah. Anyways, yeah, shade grown means you're not chopping down the whole thing. And I try and look for, because at the co-op in Albany, it labels where it's from, who grows it, and all this stuff. And it says shade grown,
You are buying local out.
No, so that is not local. It's kind of hard to buy local coffee unless it's grown in a greenhouse, I suppose. So anyways, there's that. That's agroforestry as an example. What else do I have here? What was the other words?
Contour plowing.
It's right above
Contour.
that.
All right, so contour plowing is cool because you're not just plowing straight lines through whatever the terrain is. You're going with the terrain. So this picture is pretty cool. So this is following the contours of the land. So let's take this example here. Instead of just going straight and making nice rectangular square fields, they're going with the contour of
And
the
how
land.
does this help out?
That looks like that waste.
Okay, so how does this help at all?
Erosion,
It does. It helps prevent erosion. How?
I don't know.
Not
That's all I'm
disrupting the land.
So yeah, the land is the way the land is, and if you start to cut into it or change it, then the way it absorbs water changes.